Being broke, burned out, or stuck in a job you hate doesn't just mess up your money, it messes up your nervous system. And if you've been feeling frozen, overwhelmed, or constantly on edge, there's a reason for that. Welcome to Regulate and Rise, where regulation is the path to liberation. I'm Liana Empowers, founder of the Emancipation Frequency, and I'm with my lovely co host, Tracy Anderson, traumatic, conscious, somatic, traumatic, conscious, somatic practitioner. That's a mouthful. It's a mouthful of Ruha Rising. And so we'd like to welcome you here this evening. This conversation that we're going to have tonight is very important because a lot of people out there right now are stressed. And it's about financial stress, job stress, and how all that's connected to a dysregulated nervous system. This conversation is really for everyone because nervous system dysregulation does not discriminate. But we also have to be real because women are carrying additional layers of pressure, responsibility, and financial disparity that intensify the experience. So, this is honestly why I created the sovereign income reset because I see so many people coming in who are trying to fix their problems from a dysregulated state. And so Tracy and I are going to have a conversation with you this evening about job stress, financial stress, and how it affects your nervous system and how you can move beyond that and create something beyond your wildest dreams. So, what are people really experiencing right now? People are experiencing job loss, they're experiencing burnout, they're actually overworked and underpaid. And I apologize, I think Tracy's having a little technical difficulty on her end, but I'll carry I'll carry the conversation until she comes back. But basically, we're talking about how job dysfunction and being broke is basically clogging up your nervous system. And because it's so intrusive to every aspect of your life, it takes an emotional and a physical toll on you. Um, it infiltrates every part of your life from child rearing to free time to your physical health. It just really takes a toll on you if you don't get it under control. And so I'm just going to drop this truth. Over half the people right now are experiencing elevated stress and burnout because, and it's becoming the norm basically. It's not the exception anymore, it's the norm. And across the board, women are reporting higher levels of stress and burnout than men are. So while this affects everyone, women are carrying the burden, they're carrying the heavier load. And again, that's why I created the Sovereign Income Reset because that's where people are starting from, is that place right there, stress. So we're going to have Tracy talk about the survival spectrum and what that looks like with regard to job loss. But I apologize. Before we get to that, let's talk about job loss, burnout, being overpaid. I'm sorry, underpaid and overworked. So Tracy, how are people feeling? What's the read of the land out there with regard to who you're serving and what's what's going on?
People are, co-workers included, and the clients I see, people are burned out, which means your nervous system is just fried, shut down, or you're constantly in a state of fight or flight, which leads to being unhealthy medically, physically, emotionally, not being able to function on your job, or having to take that much more energy, which means you're going to make yourself more burned out to try to get through the day and do what you need to do because you know you need to do it to survive, to bring home that paycheck. So people
Exactly.
are pretty much burned out, and the demands are coming from everywhere: work, home, uh, the environment we're living in, politically, spiritually. There are demands on all sides and major changes and upheavals in all of those realms: home, school, community, church, work. So it's changing families, it's changing the workplace, and people are just not able to function as well as they did. And sometimes that means I can't do it anymore, period. I'll just take the consequences.
Exactly.
So there's a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that people sometimes spin around because they don't know what direction to go. Like if you lose a job, it's really difficult to figure out what's the next move because you're already dysregulated from being in a
Mm-hmm.
job. Be- I mean, just think about it. We're at work 3/4 of our life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
3/4 of our day is spent in the workplace. All of our relationships that we develop, um, these things, in addition to having to meet the demands of the workplace, all take a toll on us. And you know, so it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to understand that our nervous systems are taxed, you know, just from the job, let alone everything else that's going on in everyday life. And God, you talk about
Mm-hmm.
burnout. It's easy to see where that comes from. And then you add on top of that being underpaid in some circumstances. So that creates resentment. It creates, you know, this situation where you're not bringing your best self to the position because you are emotionally drained. It's like the job is sucking the life force energy out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can talk about this being overworked. You know,
Mm-hmm.
give us an example from your life of overwork and how it affects your health.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, when I started in the counseling mental health world, there was no such thing as productivity, the hours you must get, and you must get them whether you're sick, people are sick, people miss, people cancel, people are in car accidents. You must perform. Um, the demands were just expected to perform whether you're healthy or not. And you're constantly facing negative feedback, harassment, even being written up because you don't feel well or because your clients are sick in the flu season and don't show up. So I'm constantly, or in the mental health world, for example, the counselors are constantly having to make up time when it's nearly impossible a lot of times. So we just keep trying and trying and trying and get stressed out. That can lead to everything from stomach problems to getting the flu more frequently because your immune system's overworked. You're drained, you're not getting rest, you're constantly worried. It can lead to high blood pressure, diabetes, back pain, all kinds of things that people don't realize. This is from our nervous system being stuck in this overwhelming system when we're not allowed to slow down. And it
Exactly.
just takes its toll on your body, your mind, your spirit.
And all of that layers on one thing on top of the next thing, and your body, your mind, and your spirit can only handle so much.
Mhm.
So it's no wonder that people I was at in one of my jobs, I had this really cool friend, and she was a really good person, but she was also a smoker. But I know the demands of the job and the stress that she was under. And one day I came to work and found out that she had had a heart attack in her sleep and passed away.
Mhm.
And that devastated me because I had
Mhm.
never experienced that with a coworker before. But
Mhm.
I understand, and this was at a mental health organization. And it seems to be that the mental health organizations are the ones that need the most mental health help, unfortunately. But I know it, and you know it because of, we both worked in those organizations, and
Mhm.
it's unfortunate. But
Mhm.
gosh, the emotional and physical toll that the job takes on you, that's nothing to play around with. And that's why Tracy and I wanted to have this conversation this evening, is to talk to you about how to regulate your nervous system in those circumstances,
Mhm.
and how you can move past that. Um, so, like I was saying earlier, women experience this a little bit more than men. And we're not just dealing with work stress, we're carrying
Mhm.
like the emotional labor, being the caregiver, and a lot of the mental load. So it's no wonder that our nervous systems break. There's been times literally I have felt like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown.
Mhm.
Whatever that looks like, I'm not even sure, but I have felt it. And I wanted to share some statistics with you because I found this quite interesting. Um, I looked up 3 ways that financial stress can affect the nervous system. And one of the points is it raises our cortisol. It keeps it elevated all day. It's
Mhm.
not just a one-time event. It's all day. And studies have shown that that results in advanced biological aging. So no wonder we look weathered, and we start to look really old just based on the situations we're going through with job loss, or certain situations on our job.
Mhm.
And then it also causes, these are the biological things that the that job loss and financial stress affect. Uh, and one of the most damaging types, oh, I'm sorry, it causes inflammation and
Mhm.
financial stress. I'm telling you, based on the research I did, is one of the most damaging types of stress. And again, because it invades every area of your life. And it
Mhm.
even activates the same immune cascade of being sick. So, like if your immune system has tanked, and you don't understand why you're getting sick all the time, you start having insomnia, uh,
Mhm.
you're tired and exhausted all the time. Think about that, because that's your nervous system singing a song. Basically, it's trying to tell you something. It
Mhm.
needs balance. And point number 3 is that burnout and financial stress actually physically shrinks a portion of your brain, the one that's responsible for decision making.
Mhm.
Uh, there was a study that was published in Frontiers in Psychology that said MRI studies show that it affects the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for attention, planning, impulse control, and
Mhm.
emotional regulation.
Mhm.
So, as you can see, nervous system regulation has to come before a strategy to either get a new job, seek a new career, or manage your life at the workplace and create balance for yourself. Because if you don't take hold of the physical and the biological parts of that, you're not going to be able to make effective decisions and things like that.
Mhm.
So that's that's strong. That's no joke.
Mhm.
So I wanted to share a story about how I experienced actually how I regulated my nervous system at a job that was sucking the life force energy out of me. And thank God for good friends, because I thought I was dying. I was in a stressful job that it was every which way but loose. It was awful. It was one of the worst jobs that I ever had, and I was there for many years because I was getting the paycheck to take care of my kids, and it was putting food on the table and paying for my house and but like I said, thank God for good friends, because what I ended up doing was one weekend when I was, I'll say, probably about 7 years into the job, this friend of mine told me, "Come on, we're going to Miami." And luckily, I worked from home, and I was a very astute person in terms of my job. I take my job very seriously, so I want to make sure I was doing the job that I was supposed to be doing. But I packed up my computer, we got on a plane, and we went to Miami. And I'll tell you what, that saved my life, because it helped me find happiness in the midst of a job that was slowly taking over my life. And it was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. And God, having friends like that is so amazing, because I don't think He knew exactly what it did for me. It opened my mind to being free for once in my life, for actually getting out of my comfort zone and making changes in my life that were beneficial to me, that weren't keeping me stuck at a job I couldn't stand, but I actually had an outlet. And that's part of nervous system regulation. What
Mhm.
are what are some other ways, Tracy, that we can shift out? Maybe not going to that extreme, but shift out of being stuck in those places so that we can, move forward in our lives.
Well, as you said, what you had was a positive experience. The more positive experiences you look forward to, the more you'll be able to regulate your nervous system, because you're finding that work life balance. You need that work life balance. You cannot regulate and go to work, come home, do your paperwork, go to bed, get up, and repeat, repeat, repeat. Where's the work life balance? You need
Right.
those small positive experiences. For example, you don't have to fly somewhere. That's wonderful if you can, and some people can. But some of the things that I tell the clients I work with, it can be as simple as telling everybody, leave me alone. I'm lighting the candles. I'm taking my Calgon, take me away bubble bath, or I'm going to have my glass of wine. I'm not promoting drinking, but little simple things. Tea, there's all kinds of herbal tea out there that can touch your senses and help you calm down. Just the smell of the tea and the calming properties of the tea. taking a walk, looking at nature, laughing with your children, any positive experience, looking forward to going to the library, walking through the thrift store, whatever gets to you. Positive experiences really count. You have to have something to look forward to in the day. You can, I always talk about breathing. People tell us, just do your breathing exercises. You have to relate that to your experience, not just, okay, I know how to do this one, let me try this. You have to find one that relates to you, and there are many that you can explore. There's nostril breathing, breathing in one side, and that's a lot to explain, but that clears your energy and sets you back in less than 5 minutes into clear thinking. Because when you're dysregulated, Liana was talking about the brain. There's this part in your brain called the amygdala, and it's like an alarm system. Anytime you feel threatened, overwhelmed, I can't do this, that little alarm's going ding, 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 ding. And if you hear that, that just stresses you out. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't do it anymore. You got to find ways to turn that off and regulate, so that the amygdala is not saying we're in danger, the alarm sounding, we need to shut down, we need to tense up, we need to run and hide, we need to quit, whatever the case is. You got to find ways to regulate movement, all of your senses. So, touch, smell, taste, um, and again, positive experiences. Those are just touching on the many, many, many thousands of ways that you can find to regulate.
Yeah, and I know for me, God, I wish I had known that when I was working, um, because I felt like I was just going through life reacting to things, and I'm a visionary. And I remember I went to an event, actually a life coaching event, where the coach had talked about you can either be a reactionary or a visionary. And a reactionary is someone that, kind of life happens to them. And so you're always almost like constantly a victim.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a visionary, you have a vision for your life, you have something to live from and to move towards. And that always stuck
Mm-hmm.
with me. Um, and that was helpful to me in terms of regulating my nervous system because it allowed me to focus on something positive and something outside of
Mm-hmm.
this cubicle office world that I was opposed to from the time I was in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm one of those people. I don't like to be caged, and don't put me in an office and don't put me in a cubicle because that's like a prison to
Mm-hmm.
me. So, but I did it. And why did I do it? Because I had girls to take care of. I
Mm-hmm.
got divorced. I got a divorce, and I had to do something to take care of my kids. And even though I didn't want to, my spirit did not want to
Mm-hmm.
live the corporate life. I ended up falling into it for many, many years because I didn't know what else I could do. And I didn't have the confidence at the time to start my own business or you know, anything like that. So thank God for wisdom and
Mm-hmm.
thank God for learning and growing and experimenting and adventuring and all those things because God, they've been a lifesaver.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this thing called the survival spectrum. Um, these are the modes within your nervous system that you
Mm-hmm.
get stuck in due to the various circumstances that you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And with regard to collapse, Tracy, you can go through these. The collapse portion is if you're unemployed, you're frozen and you're overwhelmed because you don't know what direction to go. You're just focused
Mhm.
on trying to get a job, trying to the job search,
Mhm.
editing your resume, getting your resources together. Can you
Mhm.
go through those with us?
So I didn't know if you wanted to touch on, we're going to go through collapse, constraint, conflict, overdrive. I didn't know if you wanted to go through what the others entailed, and then I'll just give more detail, or I can just go for
Uh, those were the main ones.
it.
Like constraint would be underpaid, undervalued, and if you're stuck, and conflict is if you hate your job, you have that
Mhm.
internal resistance, and
Mhm.
overdrive is if you're overworked, burnout, and you're always on.
Okay. And I can relate to all those. um, when you have worked for 20, 30 years, you can probably, or sometimes it doesn't even take that because the job workforce has changed so much. It might be a year and you're going through all of this. Um, but collapse, for example, when you're unemployed, frozen, overwhelmed, you just feel like, I can't do this. I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna hide. I'm just gonna just be here, just sitting. Your nervous system is just stuck, doesn't know what to do. You're just frozen as so just picture when you collapse at the end of a long day and you're tired and you just collapse. You don't have any energy. There's nothing you can do to uplift yourself sometimes. It's just I just don't know what else to do. I'm stuck. Constraint would be more about so when you're underpaid, undervalued, feeling stuck, you know you have all this knowledge, all of this stuff to offer to the job. You have great ideas. Nobody's listening. You don't have the right piece of paper. Nobody's listening. You don't have the right licensures. Nobody's listening. Or you're not in the friend group in the place of employment. Nobody's listening. So you're not getting ahead. You're just, again, feeling stuck. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. All these constraints keeping me here. You can also go through conflict. Hate my job. I'm intellectual, um, I hate my job. Stuff's going on. I'm always being challenged by HR. I'm always being threatened to be written up. The boss is always finding some way to knock me down when I'm feeling good about what I'm doing or when I'm already struggling. Here comes the conflict. What am I going to do with that? So these are all states of dysregulation. The other one is overdrive. You're burned out. You just keep going. You don't stop. Your body just keeps going. It's almost like memory. You're a robot. You're just stuck in overdrive, always doing something, always trying to prove something, always trying to prove your worth to people who don't see it in the first place. So you're really just spinning your wheels like that little hamster on the wheel and going nowhere, but you're still trying to drive yourself to do something.
And
All of it.
sometimes,
Yeah. Go ahead.
sometimes we think that that's a regulated state. That we're performing and we're doing this great job, but it becomes something that it's not supposed to be, and we don't even realize it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Overperforming, and God knows I used to do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the last job that I had. I remember one of the nights. That was one of the most stressful jobs I have ever had in my life. And I remember one of the nights I was up until almost 4 o'clock in the morning. And mind you, that was from like 6 o'clock the previous 6 a.m. the previous day.
Ooh.
And I was in tears by the time I got off of there. And my boss was cracking the whip because these reports were due and I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
familiar with these reports, and they weren't to his liking. And I promised myself after that job, there's a lot more to it, that I would never work for anyone else ever again in an office environment. I would not. I refuse to put myself through that. If someone is going to attack my self worth that much and minimize me and talk about me in front of other people, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
that's my boundary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what is, let me see, what does that look like every day? Because like when we talk about being underpaid, it hits women a little differently because we're used to being underpaid. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost a given that we're not going to receive as much compensation as men
Right.
do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we're already starting from behind.
Yes. So you were saying, what does that look like, or how does it affect us?
Yeah, how does that affect people
Mm-hmm.
in terms of being in a hyper vigilant state?
Okay. So, as I explained a little while ago, going through all these stages, sometimes you're in all of them at the same time, I hate to say, or it's hard to differentiate which state am I in. But just when people are cracking the whip, it's hard to stay focused. It's hard to perform. It's hard to be productive. And what people don't realize is you're trying to make me do more and more and more. But what you're getting is less and less and less and less. My body has shut down.
Mm-hmm.
My mind has shut down. Um, Sometimes it can feel like an out of body experience, not like hallucinating or anything, but you can literally sometimes see yourself sitting in the chair in your office, all these demands coming at you, and you can see how worn out you are. You can see how tired you feel. You feel it. You try to express that, but you're just met with more and more and more and more demands. So it's again, it's like that hamster wheel. I got to keep going. I don't have the energy. I got to keep going. I don't have the energy. But you got
Mm-hmm.
to listen to your body.
Yeah,
It
because
will shut down.
yes,
So,
yes, because the job wants you to perform or else,
right.
and that's a rough place to be.
Mhm.
So can totally empathize with anyone out there who has lost a job, who is in a job they can't stand. Uh, Believe me, I deal with that on a daily basis because I have kids who are in
Mhm.
jobs that they can't stand, and I'm helping them as best I can navigate that
Mhm.
territory. Um, but it's challenging, as we all know.
Mhm.
And most people aren't stuck because they're not capable. They're stuck because their nervous system doesn't feel safe.
Mhm.
And that is just something that most of us are not aware of when we're in the situation. I didn't
Mhm.
become aware of it until I grew. I mean, I'm on a journey of growth, my inner growth. And
Mhm.
so thank God that that was something that I was shown, because
Mhm.
I've always, come to think of it, I've always been an entrepreneur, because as
Mhm.
a little girl, I was out on the street with my girlfriend that lived across the alley from us. And we used to make little coin purses and little beaded things, and pick little weeds out of the out of the field
I
next door,
remember.
and so, little mud pies. And we used to sell them to people. We used to we were bold because we just used to make it and sit it on the sidewalk and our little table, and people would come by and give us a quarter or two for our wares. And that made it fun.
Mhm.
So, I guess if you haven't had that experience, that's something that you're not necessarily thinking of, because we've been so conditioned to get, like you said earlier, get up, go to work, perform. go home, feed the kids or feed yourself, go to bed, get up and do it all over again. And freaking think about that. The toll it takes on your life, unless you really love your job,
Mm-hmm.
for however many till you're 65 and you can retire, or maybe you're lucky and you get to retire earlier. God,
Mm-hmm.
just think about that.
We don't want to think about that. That's too much.
That's nervous system overload right there.
That right,
Goodness
just
gracious.
thinking about the vision of that. Got to
Yes,
change your vision.
yes, yes, absolutely. So let's talk about why people are stuck.
Mhm.
Like, I know one thing that I teach about in my coaching, with my coaching clients, is comfortable pain.
Mhm.
It has to do with stepping out of your comfort zone. And if
Mhm.
your nervous system is dysregulated and you don't feel safe, hell, if you're going to step out of your comfort zone,
Mhm.
you're going to stay right there in that zone.
Mhm.
And that's where most people get stuck,
Mhm.
because they don't realize that it's their body screaming for safety that is making them stay in that place. And people would rather stay in that comfortable pain,
Mhm.
as I call it, because they're not, because freedom is too unfamiliar.
Mhm.
A job has a structure, and some people need structure, granted.
Mhm.
So there's ways that they have to regulate their nervous system within the structure. But there's other people who have grown and expanded their view of the world and are ready to step into maybe an entrepreneurial endeavor, which is to me, it's a lot easier now to do that than it was before. So
Mhm.
so let's talk about those type of things. Why do people stay stuck in your opinion?
People stay stuck because since early childhood and the school system, we learn, we're conditioned, you must do it this way. You have to think this way. You need us. You need that health insurance. You
Hmm.
need to keep working. You need to pay these bills. You can't do it on your own, separate from a corporation or a business. You must be an employee. So
Hmm.
our mindset is conditioned not to be entrepreneurs most of the time. Nine
Right.
times out of 10, I would say. You have to find ways to get out of that thinking style. Um, Sometimes it takes the support of someone or many someones. I can give an example of my own child. Um, he didn't give me his permission to do this, but I'm going to because I'm very proud of him.
Yes.
Uh, so he was conditioned. He went through the school system. He learned differently. So he had an IEP. I pushed for that because it was a vision issue, a processing issue. He could see, but he couldn't take in the information and spit it back out like the rest of us could or put it together. So he learned if he didn't have me to keep telling him in his ear, you are not stupid, you are smart. Look at what your mom's going through. Be your own boss. What do you want to do? And then he eventually found other people that gave him that same, you are not stupid. We're going to help you get through school. He tried college for a year. That was not his thing.
Hmm.
And he remembered, he said his dad also told him this. We both told him, work for yourself, find something that you can do. So he's taken off and surrounded himself with all these mentors. He had that mindset because he thought differently anyway than everyone else. He processed differently. So he stepped into, I'm doing my own thing. I'm making mistakes. I'm fixing them. I'm learning. I'm finding the people that can teach me. So he learned to regulate. I'm stupid. People don't get me. I'm not a good employee, too. Now I'm opening up my second business with the help of millionaire investors who are
Yes.
guiding him and walking him through the process. So
Yes.
he found that he regulated because he would come home in tears. And that's the same kind of experience you could say some of us have at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just quickly say about my experience. Through my program, Dance Movement Therapy, which I got a master's degree in, we had to look at ourselves. We had to analyze ourselves, pick ourselves apart inside out in front of people, in front of our class and professors. We had to learn how to do the things that we were not comfortable doing and actually do them in movement physically. So we couldn't hide. So thankfully, I know myself, but still, you can still get into that survival mode. I just recently took time off because my body said, you can't do this right now. I was shutting down, I was in collapse, constraint, not, I don't make what I'm worth at the job that I had, 30 something years experience. So that constraint, conflict, you're not doing enough. So everything was criticized. Well, maybe you need to do this better. Maybe you need to do that better. What are you doing? Overdrive, produce, 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 produce. And along the way, because I knew myself and I knew my body, I was able to say, I need a break. I
Mm-hmm.
can't sit here for 5 hours straight talking to people. That's a lot of focus, energy, etc., etc. And I saw myself, like I said earlier, you can see yourself and the state you're in, and you have to be aware that it's too much. So there's nothing wrong with going through these states, but you have to be able to say, I can't do this. And that doesn't make me a failure. I can't do
Exactly.
this because it's not realistic. The human body, the nervous system cannot go, 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 go without shutting down and needing a break. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, so we got to the point where we could not have any breaks in an 8 hour day to eat, to rest, to breathe. And I am literal about that. And the state laws here say that's okay. It's not. So
Right.
I was able to step away, regulate. And now when I'm in those situations, I just go, oh, that's what's going on. Okay, we're not doing that anymore. Because I learned to say no, set the boundaries.
Yes.
I'm in control now, not you
Yes.
controlling me. You need me.
That's it.
Um,
That, that
and I
right
never,
there.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you have to tell
That's
yourself you need you to be healthy,
yes.
and then
Yeah,
other people will need you. I'm sorry.
that's right. No, you have a right to, that's one thing that people need to know is you have a right
Mm-hmm.
to your health. You have a right to claim your health and your happiness. And so you have to recognize
Mm-hmm.
your value to the employer and what that means. A lot of times, like when you're going on break, we'll get up and go with, other people and chit chat and start complaining about work and everything. Take
Mm-hmm.
time to go sit with yourself and play some relaxing music, play some Native American flute music or
Mm-hmm.
some Zen something, or you take a walk briefly and breathe because that space is
Mm-hmm.
critical to your health and it's important. And I get what you're talking about. I know because you told me at times
Mm-hmm.
you can't even take a restroom break.
No,
I know
it's
some of the
really not good for you.
no, and some of the bus drivers in California,
Mm-hmm.
they went on strike one year because their schedule was so tight. They weren't even allowed to go to they couldn't even have time to go to the restroom and it was making them sick.
That's what it does.
And so you have to recognize your value.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want something more for yourself, because a lot of people do now, they
Mm-hmm.
see that the system itself is collapsing
Mm-hmm.
and these jobs are not readily available to you anymore. So now is the time to check in with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
actually look at the gifts, the talents, the experience, and everything that you have to bring to the table,
Mm-hmm.
because you can regulate your nervous system. And once you do that, you can shift into something else that
Mm-hmm.
is going to feed you exactly what it is you need, because
Mm-hmm.
then you're operating from a whole different mechanism. You're
Mm-hmm.
operating from joy and from passion and from what lives inside you, and not necessarily the job that you've been doing for the last 20 years or for the last 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know I had to tell my daughter recently that she's at a job that she doesn't like, and it's not her. She's a creative person, very creative, and but she's in a job that she's not necessarily 100% good at, but she's good enough to get by, but she's really hard on herself and she
Mm-hmm.
wants to do a good job. But I told her that may not necessarily be you. It's
Mm-hmm.
not for you, and your spirit is trying to tell you it's time to make a shift,
Mm-hmm.
because she's been there almost 10 years in the same position,
No.
and she's too creative to be stuck in that space. So
Mm-hmm.
our nervous systems prioritize safety, though. So
Mm-hmm.
if we don't
Right.
if we don't work with someone or understand what all that means, of course Tracy and I can help you, because we both
Mm-hmm.
teach about nervous system regulation and
Mm-hmm.
creating a different space for yourself, a different way of being and operating in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you're aware of it, you can't go back.
Right.
No,
You don't feel right going back.
exactly.
Doesn't
Exactly.
feel right.
That's right. And it's just really challenging to be in this environment right now, because it feels like the world is crashing down around you. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I'll say, especially for women, because
Mm-hmm.
we've been conditioned to do things like overgive and overwork
Mm-hmm.
and overfunction and tie our worth
Right.
to our job, to our position.
Our
Um,
performance. Yep.
exactly. So sometimes when we're fired or we're laid off or we leave a
Mm-hmm.
job, we lose our identity. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing that I teach in the sovereign income reset, is how to reclaim your identity from
Mm-hmm.
that place where, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm spinning around. I don't know who I am anymore, because my identity has been tied to this position for all
Mm-hmm.
these years.
You are not your job.
Right. Exactly. And so regulation is the missing link in
Mm-hmm.
terms of how we move forward from this place, from job loss, from financial stress, because those things will kill you,
Mm-hmm.
literally and figuratively. And so you have to have nervous system regulation before you can create any strategy for moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Even in your job search, how you want to approach the position that you might currently be in, whether you be underpaid or overworked. Um, regulation, regulation.
Regulation. And you can see your value more in yourself when you're regulated. You don't have
Exactly.
all that stuff coming at you telling you you're wrong. No, you know deep down inside what you're capable of.
Hmm.
And it's not as deep as you think it might be. You know how valuable you are, what you have to offer. Just giving yourself permission
Yes. That permission
to
is so
offer
important.
it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, to offer it. Giving yourself permission to offer
Giving yourself permission is
it.
so important. Gosh, to the way that you're going to move forward, to whatever your next is.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself permission to try something new, to try something different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's hard to grow if you're stuck in hamster wheel mode all
Yeah.
your life. If you're stuck in safety
Mm-hmm.
most of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and God knows, I know so many people that are stuck in safety. It is life altering,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But we can only shift if we're regulated
Mm-hmm.
because we can't even access that place. We're so busy reacting and rubber banding back to the same circumstances that we don't want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
It's challenging.
Yeah, different place, same thing. Different place, same thing. Different place, different people, but it's the same thing. A-
Exactly.
And sometimes giving yourself permission. If you want to say, I want change, I don't like how this is, I don't like feeling like this, but you feel like I owe this job because they need me or I owe them. Think
Hmm.
about this. This is something that has helped me. You've probably seen this saying all over the internet, Facebook, whatever you look on. Take your time off. I might not be saying it correctly. Take your time off, take care of yourself because the minute you leave, whether you die, you're fired, you get laid off, they're going to replace you within that hour. Or,
That's right.
the same day they've already got the ad ready to go.
That's
So that means you have to be most valuable to yourself
right.
because
The
you're just
MVP.
filling it, you're plugging into the spots that they have.
Hmm.
You're more than a plug in, you're a valuable person.
Exactly. You're a human being, like I said, with gifts and talents
Mm-hmm.
and feelings and emotions and a life outside of performance.
Mm-hmm.
You are you're divine, man. You are a gift. You're a masterpiece. We can't even tap into that unless we're regulated.
Mm-hmm.
And regulation isn't a luxury, it's a requirement for change.
Mm-hmm.
It is so hard to change if you're not aware of what's going on inside of you and what is causing these reactions that you're having,
Mm-hmm.
physiological, mental, all of that.
And change is hard, but it's a different kind of hard. If you're doing it because you want to and you know you've got this product to produce, this business to create, that's a different kind of hard.
Hmm.
It's a hard worth doing. It's not a hard because I got all these challenges and people are against me. It's just a different kind of hard.
Yeah. But it's well worth it. And like you
It's
were
well worth.
saying, one of my mentors, who's one of the top business coaches in the world, he
Mm-hmm.
specifically doesn't advocate for college anymore. I'm not telling people what to do, trust me. But he said,
Mm-hmm.
all you need is a mentor. Just get a good mentor, and you can do anything, just like your son is doing. You know, they will teach you how to build generational wealth. But
Mm-hmm.
stepping outside that comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
you can only do that if you're regulated. If you understand nervous system regulation, if you're willing to do
Mm-hmm.
the work,
Yes,
you
that's
already, yeah, you got to be willing. And
because yeah, you're gonna
yeah,
have those hard times. You're gonna
exactly.
have those hard times.
We're bringing attention to all this because we want you to aspire for what your heart desires.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to be able to regulate and be healthy and be able to navigate these situations
Mm-hmm.
more with ease and knowledge and wisdom. And so that's why Tracy and I decided we wanted to do Regulate and Rise, because
Mm-hmm.
that comes from our heart. We really want you to succeed. And um, real quick, we'll talk about identity and income shift, because
Mm-hmm.
what I teach, especially inside the sovereign income reset, is how to shift from being an employee to being a creator. This
Mm-hmm.
is the creator economy that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in fact, I have a school community called the Creator Rebellion, but it's where People don't realize once you leave a job, you're fired, laid off, whatever it is, you have the opportunity to step into the gap of a
Mm-hmm.
system that's basically falling apart, either from funding, lack of funding,
Mm-hmm.
programs that are being cut. There are so many gaps in the system that you can take your talents and move into. You can do it alone, you can do it with another person, you can do it with a group of people. You know, you can start something fantastic that will help you serve the world
Mm-hmm.
and help humanity elevate to a whole nother level and help yourself elevate to another level.
Mm-hmm.
So don't forget that your worth is not tied to your productivity. Your employer may be telling you that, but when you regulate your nervous system and you breathe and you feel you, the real you, the heartbeat of you, the soul, the spirit of you, you will know what the answer is. You will know that you are destined for more and you will be able to take the steps necessary to get to that place.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, safety comes from within, not
Mm-hmm.
from a paycheck.
Right.
Safety starts within. So hold
Yes.
that right there in that container.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to add also that one thing you can do to start feeling safe in your body, especially if you're laid off or unemployed, is create a safety container. It's almost like a little piggy bank where you put uh, pennies for when you need them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
your safety, your rainy day fund. Start your own rainy day fund by starting your own offer. You can make an offer just from the gifts that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I help people do that too. Create an offer and put it out there in the world to your network, people that you know. You'd be surprised. And you can begin to make money like like that. But it takes having the courage, stepping out, being willing to step out of your comfort zone and
Mm-hmm.
regulating from a place of safety within your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not just burnt out from work, we're burnt out from carrying worlds that were never meant for us to carry alone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Tracy and I are here for. We're here to serve you, to help you
Mm-hmm.
step into that greatest place, that greatest you. You don't have to be beholden to an employer, but if you want to stay within that structure, there's nothing wrong with that. And we can help you learn to regulate your nervous system in those situations so that you can be the best employee that you can be until you decide to move to another place,
Mm-hmm.
move on.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to recap, you're not broken at all. You're just dysregulated. So we want to help you step from fear to freedom. And wherever you are, whether you're collapsed, constrained, conflicted, or in overdrive, if you're ready to regulate your system, reset your identity, and start creating income from a place
Mm-hmm.
of power, the Sovereign Income Reset was created just for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tracy, take it away. Give us some words of wisdom for this week in terms of what people can take away from the conversation.
Change your mindset and how you look at yourself. Say if you're saying something negative to yourself, say the opposite of what that is. What would happen if I'm this big? What would happen if I grow? One little simple thing you can do is if you can find a space somewhere private, wherever that is, make your body as small as it can, like curling up into a ball. And imagine this is all the weight on you. This is everything that you're going through. And then after a few seconds, rise up and make yourself as big as you can. Pretend you're taking up all that space because it's about you taking up that space you deserve to take up.
Awesome. So, does anybody have any questions before we say goodbye? Okay, we'd like to thank you guys for joining us this week, and be sure to tune in next week because we'll have more amazing information on how you can regulate and rise and just take your life to a whole different level, body, mind, and spirit.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.